Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be starting gameplay of the game Inflection Point. It is Battalion Combat Series. It is from the Gamers and Multi-Man Publishing. It is designed by Dean Essig, who I believe passed away during the design of this game, and the game itself was actually finished by Carl Fung, who was also the developer on the game. So this one covers two battles from 1942, kind of on either end of the Case Blue offensive or the Battle of Stalingrad. And essentially, in this situation, I elected to go with the earlier battle, which was the summer battle that began on July 23rd and ended on August 1st as far as the game turns go. And that is the Battle of Kalach. So you're looking at a map of the entirety of you're looking at the entirety of the map. Currently devoid of units. I am going to transition us now to a close-up look at Kalach itself. It is a city on the bend of the Don River, somewhat north and west of the city of Stalingrad, which is now, of course, called Volgograd. And this was kind of the focal point of part of the German offensive, the goal being to kind of encircle and eliminate the Soviet 62nd Army. Now, this is obviously a very small part of this map. It is a two-mapper, Map A and Map B. Map A on the north. We'll get a better look at all of it with the units on it as we play. I wanted to show you the map blank before we started, but the Germans will be coming in from the west and the north, and the Soviets will be trying to stop them, and then later on in the game, the Soviets actually gain some impetus via Comrade Stalin, who issued an order telling them not one step back, basically. So that is the setup. I have done a first look and a gameplay setup, kind of describing the way the BCS series works. It's a little different than most war games. Really, really clever systems in here to kind of model keeping your units together as formation. So keeping, essentially what other games might call divisional integrity, or things like that. The role of combined arms is modeled here, as well as, of course, supply and logistics, which are important. Now, it's not as granular of a level of supply and logistics as the OCS series is, but it does handle it, and it is important to keep everything organized. So I will be playing solitaire, of course, and covering both sides as best I can. Before we get started, I just wanted to kind of show something here, and I'm going handheld. But you can see, I printed out these little formation holders, I guess you could call them. It's just a piece of, for me, it's cardstock for me, but I got it off BGG on the page for this game, Inflection Point. And it has boxes for various things: fatigue, prepared defense, artillery assets, and support. I actually have the chit for the formation itself on there. I'm going to talk about that here in a moment, but this is the southern edge here of map B, as you can see, and I've got the formations kind of laid out, right? This is the 112th, which is right, that's the 66th Naval Brigade, but this is the 112th right here. You can see they're kind of spread out, right? And then down here, right, we've got the 66th Naval Brigade, the 13th Tank Corps, the 192nd Rifle, which is, I think, up a bit, or maybe not. 214 Rifle, 229 Rifle, 181 Rifle, the 33rd Guard Division, the 147th Rifle. These are the units the Red Army has at the start of the campaign. And as we go around to the side, we get to the German section. Now, this is the 71st Infantry Division. They are entering there on entry point C that you see right there in the middle. And those are their units. The Germans do not start this game with any units on the map. Now, if we go further north here, you've got the 292nd Infantry Division, which will enter through E and or F. I will make that call when I start activating. As we move further north, you see the stack of units there. That is the 16th Panzer Division. They're going to be coming in through that D there, which has two entry points. You can see one to the north and one to the south. I don't know that I'll split my forces. Also, you can see some of the tracks, the roads that have dashes or dots in them, as opposed to your main roads here, which obviously are a little bit better. And you can see the Russians are back a little bit. to the east. So you will see some different types of movement as I come in, and we'll talk about that as well. Then up here we have the 113th Infantry is right there on C, and then you have the 60th Motorized Infantry Division, along with a Kampf Grouper there, 60, Kampf Grouper 60, which is kind of a spin-off of the 60th Motorized. And up here we've got the 3rd Motorized Division, and last but certainly not least, over here we have, well, that's actually the 3rd Motorized Division. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, that's the 60th and the Kampfgruppe. 3rd Motorized is also over there, yeah. So 3rd Motorized is that one right there at A. Then B here has the 260s, the Kampfgruppe and the 60th Motorized Division. Okay, so we're headed up north here. I'm sticking to the north, right? So here is the 3rd Motorized and the 260s right there. This is the 192nd Rifle Division of the Soviet Red Army. And you can see kind of they're spread out. There's a lot of open spots, open terrain on this. This was a very mobile portion of the war here in kind of the south, heading towards the south, I guess. The Germans are going to attempt to kind of race around in this direction from the north and push in from the east, or the west rather, over there. What I wanted to actually discuss at the moment is you saw these chits for each of the divisions and the Kampfgruppe, etc., right? So you've got one for each one. That's the 131st Rifle. One of the optional rules, and I'm not going to use a lot of the optional rules. There are some really good ones, and I would probably be inclined to use them, except I want to keep this as lean as possible because this will take a while. I'm going to put these chits, one of these chits. Now, normal activation is you roll for initiative and you get to activate whoever you want. We're going to do a more random thing, which works well for solitaire, where I'm just going to put them all in a cup, do a chit pull, but I'm going to pull 3, so we get an odd number, and whoever has the most gets to choose from those. So, if it's 2 to 1, the one that has the side that has 2 would get to pick which one of those 2 it wants to activate. If they have all 3, they can take their choice of any 3. One that only has 1, well, they don't get to activate. They have to wait. Anything not chosen goes back in the cup, and you do that until you're down to 2 chits. Then you pull one out, and whatever that is the one that goes, and then the last man standing gets to go last. Okay, I'm going to draw out here 3 of them. Just grab 2, grab one more, 3. Okay, and we got 131st. That's Soviet. The Soviets get 2, it looks like, at least 2. 112th, and the Germans had the 16th Panzer Division, which would have been a good one. They are right over that way. I'm actually standing at the northern end of the map now. So the Soviets will choose between the 112th and 131st. Now those are both, I believe, to the south. Looking at the colors, you can see the band here at the bottom, this purple band. I can pick it up with my big clumsy fingers. It's upside down for you guys. You can see the purplish blue band there. So we're going to I'll leave that one out. We'll go with the 112th, I guess. The 131st is, I believe, the garrison in Kalach. We're going to leave them in place for now. So I'm going to take this one, and this will be our first activation. So I'm going to move the camera, and then we'll pick this up. Okay, so here is the 112th. They kind of look purple to me, but on the card, they look more blue. And I guess, the chit, there's the chit with the stripe. I mean, that's what color they are. Oh, and you could see here that they have 0 fatigue, but they also do not have any artillery assets, nor do they have prepared defense. With the Soviets kind of being on the defensive, it's probably not overly necessary for me to do much with them as they are currently set up. They provide a good opportunity to talk about some of the things that you want to make sure you have in mind while you're doing this. This is their headquarters unit right here. You can see it's sitting kind of right in the middle-ish. Right? So the 6 at the top is its command range, and the 2 is its normal artillery. And this is its fresh side or its unused side. And then this would be the side after you use it. And you can see that that little die face up there near the top with a 5 on it, that is the number you would need to roll to get a second activation with this. Now, with that, it does have a battalion of infantry as well as an anti-tank support unit. So I'm just going to put that right there. Now you can see kind of, if you count out the hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This guy is at the extent of the command range. Now this here is the combat train. That's its support. That's its supply rather. And you have to have what's called an MSR, or main supply route. And they're sitting on a road. It's a secondary road, but this is very rural Russia in the 1940s, so you wouldn't expect, the Autobahn or something. This is as good a road as we can find on this map, right? Because we have tracks and we have roads. So this is your secondary road, and we'll talk about movement and everything when we move it and how much it costs to move on the roads, etc. But in general, the distance from the the combat train is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's all secondary roads, so they're good. And then from here, he traces back to one of the supply points, which is right here. There's one. Actually, you can't see that, but you see this road here. This is a continuation. It joins another road up here, and then it goes this way. At the very end of this road, at the map edge, is a supply source for the Soviets. They can also draw supply by going the other direction, in that direction up to the north, and Kalach is kind of in that direction, like right that way, and not very far away. I was not planning on moving anybody here. They're all in reasonable position. Like this unit here is in Lugovsky, and then this one's in Nemkovsky, and this guy is on a track. There's lots of water here too. It's kind of marshy. You got the Mishkova River here, of course, leading up to the Don. So they're sitting on the eastern side of the Don. There's special rules for this, of course. One of them being the Don is actually a blocking terrain, because the western bank of the Don in this area was sometimes 300 feet high, bluffs. So you had a very big, you couldn't really see from the east side to the west side. But they are obviously, they're, the 66 Naval is right here. You can see one of its units right there. And then the 214th Supply Combat Train is actually right here too, next to Nizhny Chirskaya, which is actually on the Chir map as well. And then further to the west is the 214th Rifle Division, which is kind of the front line. They are sitting along the Solanaya River and waiting for the German 75th Infantry Division to start heading east. Okay, so now that I have kind of explained what my thinking is here, we should still go through your typical activation for a unit, even though we're not really going to do much here. So here you see we have a normal activation, right? So preparation, our combat trains are on map. Our MSR is complete. We don't have a marker. Create, maintain, or remove prepared defenses. We're not going to do that yet. The Soviets will rely a lot on prepared defense in this particular scenario, especially because we're kind of buying time until the Stalin directive comes in and gives us a little bit, and we're also waiting on our tanks. This is a very, very infantry-oriented army here, the 62nd, and so we need to wait for our armor to get here, which will then give us the ability to punch back. But until then, we're going to play kind of tenacious defense, a lot of prepared defense, and try to keep the Germans at bay, stymie them until we can hit back. That's the plan. All right, so now we go to snafu, which is the big thing here. Right, so you determine your snafu level, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Then you have decide on a failure, flip, recovery. We don't need to worry about that. We're not mixed either. Okay, in here we have our snafu table modifiers. So you see fresh fatigue, which we are not. We're at 0. Fresh is even better than 0. It's like a It's like a +1 or something, or -1. I don't know. Coordination, not in effect. Fatigue level is 0, so that's not going to have any negative impact. We're not mixed. And we do have a game-specific snafu DRM. For the Soviets, in this specific battle, they get the snafu DRM is listed right here on the turn track, the record track, right? It's right here in red. The Germans are above it. It's a 0 and a -1. Now, in this case, we're the -1. I'll go over that in more detail later. But we have a -1 there, so we're going to have a -1 on our die roll for that reason. Okay, then you've got the MSR is complete, optimal distance. We do have optimal distance, so that would negate the -1, which would put us back at 0. If the MSR uses tracks, we do not, I don't think we're actually using tracks here because the MSR is all on secondary road, no tracks. This is a track. We're not using it. We're using the secondary road. So we don't get a negative there. And that is it for our snafu results. Now, here's the snafu table. It's pretty simple. You roll 2 dice, right? And so I'm just going to roll 2 dice, and that'll tell us if we get a fail, a partial, or full activation. Now, we're not in a prepared defense yet, and that was one of the things I mentioned. So I'm just going to roll here on the map and hope. We got an 8. So an 8 would be a successful and a full activation. Now, looking at things here, I'm thinking maybe I will move up to perhaps set up because here's the situation. Let me adjust the shot so you can see this better. Now, this is wide, and it's wide for a reason. Here we have here's the 112th. Here's the Naval Brigade. And then we've got the 214th Rifle up here. So this is our first line of defense. It's set up. 214, I believe, is in prepared defense. I'm looking at it. 214. No, they're not in prepared defense. But we can put them in, which I probably will do when we activate them. And then we'll talk about what that does for you. So, and their supply is here. They also have a complete MSR with no issues because it's all on secondary roads. And so they've got a pretty decent situation for themselves here. And then just north of them is the 229th. And, well, here's the 229th combat train right there. So this is the 229th here. Then the 147th is above them. And you've got a steady line of Soviet units going north, all the way up to the 192nd, which is kind of holding up there. But the Russians' problem is they have an open flank, and the Germans are going to charge right through it. The best thing you can do as the Germans is try to drive as far south as you can with the units at the north, while applying pressure with the units from the west to kind of put the Soviets in a tough situation. Of course, the Soviets are going to have to, like I said, they have their first line of defense. It's all infantry mainly. They do have some support. The Germans, of course, will hammer that support, and then everything will get pushed. And that's why we need to kind of establish a second line. So I'm torn a bit about whether I should leave these guys where they are, which is pretty decent terrain, but I could make it better if I move them up here. Then there's a lot of planning involved, right? You want to plan it out. Just like any good war game, you want to have a good plan. And here, we could maybe take the 196th. If we move them up here, we can move the 196th up, or we can keep this as kind of our reserve behind the second line, and then have it be somewhat of a fire brigade where we can send it where we need it most. Because it can get to Kalach pretty easy. It's right up that way. It could also come up and plug any holes in here. There's not a lot of depth in the center. And as you get further north, there's very little depth at all. So the Soviets are probably going to end up collapsing a bit. And they did, in fact, nearly get pocketed, but they did not. And we'll get into that a little bit more as we go on. So I think for now, I'm actually going to just flip this to show that they were used, even though I didn't really do anything. And I mean, I could have pushed some guys up further. I don't know. Well, here, let's just move this one, right? They're in their deployed state. So I didn't talk about this yet, but you have, this side is the deployed side. They're ready for combat. That number 2 in the middle, that's their AR, their action rating, what they can do. They got a little arrow there to the left of that. That indicates that they can attack. The 5 at the top in the yellow box, that is the number of steps they are. You can see this is the 2nd Battalion of the 416th Infantry Regiment, and it is part of the 112th Rifle Division. The 4 is its movement points. Now, if we flip it over to the movement side, you've got your AR drops to a 1. Other stuff pretty much stays the same, except the movement, which doubles. So you put them in this mode, they can boogie and get put some distance under their boots. So we're going to actually just move them 1 hex here. Now we've got, that gives us river hex sides on 2 sides, which is pretty good. So we're going to leave them there. And, at this point, I think I'm going to move this guy up 1 as well. So just trying to kind of keep everybody in a situation where they can be close enough to headquarters to get, to maintain contact within command range, and also just to kind of make a little bit of a defensive position. So I may move, maybe we move this guy here. I kind of like him here, though. From a ZOC perspective, you've got, zones of control all along here now, because there's a space, a space, a space. So you got ZOCs all around here, which is good. And that's what we want. Now I'm going to draw again here. 3. And let's see, we got the 192nd. We've got the German 3rd Motorized, and we've got the Soviet 181st Rifle. So the 192nd is all the way up at the north and facing the 3rd Motorized Division. And they are already in a prepared defense, I'm pretty sure. Where's the 192nd on here? There it is. They are in prepared defense. And they do have no artillery. So let's look at the 181st here and see what they've got. They have an artillery point. They are not close enough to any Germans to actually do anything, though. So it's kind of a situation. I think we'll go with the 192nd because they're in a more precarious position. So they will be our lucky activated unit. I'm going to move my camera up there and we'll continue. Okay, so again, I'm upside down at the moment. I'll be working from the top of your screen. So all this here, and including this guy up here, are all the 192nd Rifle Division. Now, one of these guys is out of command range, and I believe it's this one right here. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and his HQ is here, and it's upside down for some reason, because I can read it. So I'm just going to turn it around. Now, just to kind of quickly take a look at this guy. I'm trying to get some good light on it. I don't want to get a lot of reflection, so that's why I'm kind of trying to avoid. I'm casting shadows and stuff, but I'm trying to not have glare on my map here. So they have a command range of 6. They normally have 2 artillery points. They have none right now. They are in prepared defense. And then, of course, over here you can see that they activate also on a 5. And pretty much the same as the other infantry division that we just saw. So what can we do here? Now, here's Kletskaya right here. And the Germans are right above it. Here's the 3rd Motorized. They're going to come right into this hex. And presumably they will attack this guy. Now, he will get a little bit of a bonus because of being in a prepared defense, but he's also out of command range, which gives you a negative as well. So let's talk about prepared defense real quick. Okay, so these are the effects of a prepared defense. Formation with prepared defense is restricted to no better than a partial snafu result regardless of how well it rolls. It can create or maintain prepared defense regardless of a snafu result, including fail. It can move normally given the snafu requirement, can place units into screen, makes use of combat and engagement DRMs, has units that can only be engagement targets. We're talking about different types of combat, which we'll get into later. Might apply a different line on the barrage table, can recover their fatigue, which is good. They don't currently have any, there is 0. And can conduct a second activation, but prepared defense cannot be created in a second activation. Eligibility. A unit can use its formation's prepared defense provided it's on its deployed side and not move side, which it is. It is in command radius, so guess what? They're not in command radius. The formation has its prepared defense marker at that moment, which it does. It's on its little card, not on the map, because I'm trying to keep the map as uncluttered as possible. So having said that, we're going to do our snafu roll. And I believe we're going to have the same situation here that we did before, in that we're going to have no modifiers, basically, because this situation is exactly the same as the one in the south. There's really nothing different about it. Keeping in mind that we can only get a partial activation, we're just trying to avoid a fail. And we got a 5, which would be a partial activation anyway. What does a partial activation do? Well, as far as what's most pertinent to us is it only allows you to move 2 hexes. Since this guy doesn't get any benefit from the prepared defense, it might be better to just say 1, 2. But thinking about this, right, here, he's a speed bump, basically, is what he is. Germans are going to come in. There's no way that they can't apply enough combat power to knock this guy backwards. He's going to have to retreat. So the question is, do we want him to take it here, or do we want him to take it down here? Now, he's out of command radius, even if he's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could move our headquarters if we want to put him in command radius, and that might be worthwhile. So that's something we could think about, because then he would get the benefit of having the prepared defense. So maybe we explore that possibility, and we move him back here to put him in a good spot. We could also move somebody up. He's sitting on a river, so there's a river hex side there, and we want to hold that. This guy's got terrain right in front of him, so it might be worthwhile to move him here or here, right? Because that's only 1 hex, so he can do that. Now we have our tanks down here as well, and I don't necessarily know that I want to move them up. But then we have our headquarters that we could, in theory, move if we wish to. Here's the sticking point. There's always a sticking point. If I move him, they lose their prepared defense. So, given that the Germans are going to send basically 3 divisions at us, these 3 right here, right? We've got the 60th Motorized that's coming in right here, and the Kampfgruppe coming in right here. They're going to just push this way, most likely. Or they could come in and just sweep to the southwest and go around these guys, with the hope being that the units coming in from that side, namely the 113th Division, 113th Infantry Division, can come in and apply pressure on these guys from the west. That might be better. That might be the better course of action. So we're going to stop here. I don't really feel like I want to move anybody else. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 10. Well, that's an anti-tank, and that's an infantry. They won't. They might have some armor, but probably not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He could only get to there. So I'm not going to move anybody else, I don't think. Ideally, some Germans would have gotten activated, because then I would be able to figure out what I wanted to do here. So what I'm going to say right now is my plan was to keep these to about a half hour, and there will be multiples of them, probably 5 or 6 of them, to be honest. And there will probably be days where I'll turn out more than 1 part as I speed up and get things going, get a flow. But for now, we're going to stop here. And what I'll do is, after the other parts are released, I'm just going to use the end screen from YouTube to put the link to the next part in there that you will then be able to kind of just continue on. So for now, I am going to sign off. I'll do my quick shout out to my channel members. Appreciate the support. Everyone, I thank you very much for that. If you have questions, comments, post them up. Please consider liking, sharing, hyping, subscribing, all that good stuff that helps support my channel. It's all free. All it takes is a couple clicks, and you help the Hexed Encounter channel. And I am appreciative of those particular efforts. So that's it for now. I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. We will be back soon with more of this, as well as some other things, but primarily this. So until then, happy gaming.